record it. Thanks, Richard. I see you checking out. Yeah.
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 Thank you.
All right, Steve. All right, Z.
All right.
Very
Yeah.
gentle.
Love you all. Great meeting.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Hopefully the recording will be better,
Yeah. We'll see how it goes here. So here's the Kingfishers by Charles Olson. 1. What does not change is the will to change. He woke fully clothed in his bed. He remembered only one thing, the birds, how when he came in, he had gone around the rooms and got them back in their cage, the green one first, she with the bad leg, and then the blue, the one they'd hoped was a male. Otherwise, yes, Fernand, who's talked lispingly of Albers and Ankorvat, he had left the party without a word. How he got up, got into his coat, I do not know. When I saw him, he was at the door, but it did not matter. He was already sliding along the wall of the night, losing himself in some crack of the ruins. That it should have been he who said, the Kingfishers, who cares for their feathers now? His last words had been, the pool is slime. Suddenly everyone, ceasing their talk, sat in a row around him, watched. They did not so much hear or pay attention. They wondered, looked at each other, smirked, but listened. He repeated and repeated, could not go beyond his thought, the pool, the Kingfisher's feathers were wealth. Why did the export stop? It was then he left. Bhakti?
Yeah.
Come here for a sec. 2. I thought of the E on the stone and of what Mao said, la lumière, but the Kingfisher, de l'aurore. But the Kingfisher flew west.
Et devant nous.
He got the color of his breast from the heat of the setting sun. The features are the feebleness of the feet, syndactylism of the third and fourth digit, the bill, serrated, sometimes a pronounced beak, the wings, where the color is short and round, the tail, inconspicuous. But not these things were the factors, not the birds. The legends are legends. Dead, hung up indoors, the Kingfisher will not indicate a favoring wind or avert the thunderbolt, nor, by its nesting, still the waters, with a new year for 7 days. It is true it does nest with the opening year, but not on the waters. It nests at the end of a tunnel bored by itself in a bank. There, 6 or 8 white or translucent eggs are laid on fish bones, not on bare clay, on bones thrown up in pellets by the birds. On these rejectamenta, as they accumulate, they form a cup-shaped structure. The young are born, and as they are fed and grow, this nest of excrement and decayed fish becomes a dripping, fetid mass. Mao concluded.
Nous devons nous lever et agir.
3. When the attentions change, the jungle leaps in. Even the stones are split, they rive, or enter that other conqueror we more naturally recognize. He so resembles ourselves. But the E, cut so rudely on that oldest stone, sounded otherwise, was differently heard, as, in another time, were treasures used. And later, much later, a fine ear thought a scarlet coat of green feathers, feet, beaks, and eyes of gold, animals likewise, resembling snails. A large wheel gold with figures of unknown 4-foots, and worked with tufts of leaves, weight 3,800 ounces. Last, 2 birds of thread and featherwork, the quills gold, the feet gold, the 2 birds perched on 2 reeds. Gold, the reeds arising from 2 embroidered mounds, one yellow, the other white. And from each reed hung 7 feathered tassels. In this instance, the priests, in dark cotton robes and dirty, their disheveled hair matted with blood and flowing wildly over their shoulders, rush in among the people, calling on them to protect their gods. And all now is war, where so lately there was peace, and the sweet brotherhood, the use of tilled fields. 4. Not one death, but many. Not accumulation, but change. The feedback proves the feedback is the law. Into the same river no man steps twice. When fire dies, air dies. No one remains, nor is one. Around an appearance, one common model, we grow up, many. How else is it, if we remain the same? We take pleasure now in what we did not take pleasure before. Love, contrary objects, admire and or find fault, use other words, feel other passions, have nor figure, appearance, disposition, tissue the same. To be in different states without a change is not a possibility. We can be precise. The factors are in the animal and or the machine. The factors are communication and or control. Both involve the message. And what is the message? The message is a discrete or continuous sequence of measurable events distributed in time. Is the birth of the air, is the birth of the water, is a state between the origin and the end, between birth and the beginning of another fetid nest. Is change, presents no more than itself, and the too strong grasping of it, when it is pressed together and condensed, loses it, this very thing you are. 2. They buried their dead in a sitting position, serpent, cane, razor, ray of the sun, and she sprinkled water on the head of my child, crying, Chocoltu, Chocoltu, with her face to the west, where the bones are found, in each personal heap, with what each enjoy, there is always the Mongolian louse. The light is in the east, yes, and we must rise, act, yet in the west, despite the apparent darkness, the whiteness which covers all. If you look, if you can bear, if you can long enough, as long as it was necessary for him, my guide, to look into the yellow of that longest lasting rose. So you must, and in that whiteness, into that face, with what candor look, and considering the dryness of the place, the long absence of an adequate race. Of the two who came first, each a conquistador, one healed, the other tore the eastern idols down, toppled the temple walls, which, says the excuser, were black from human gore. Here, where the dry blood talks, where the old appetite walks.
La più saporita e
Migliore che si
That's-
possa
yeah, that's
trovare
okay.
el mondo, where it hides. There's one other part. Where it hides, look in the eye, how it runs in the flesh, chalk. But under these petals, in the emptiness, regard the light, contemplate the flower whence it arose, with what violence benevolence is brought, what cost in gesture justice brings, what wrongs domestic rights involve, what stalks this silence, what pudor, pejorocracy affronts, how awe night rest in neighborhood can rot, what breeds where dirtiness is law, what crawls below. 3. I am no Greek, hath not the advantage, and of course no Roman. He can take no risk that matters, the risk of beauty least of all. But I have my kin, if for no other reason than, as he said, next of kin, I commit myself, and given my freedom, I'd be a cad if I didn't, which is most true. It works out this way, despite the disadvantage. I offer in explanation a quote.
Si j'ai de goût, ce n'est guère que pour la terre et les pierres.
Despite the discrepancy, an ocean, courage, age. This is also true. If I have any taste, it is only because I have interested myself in what was slain in the sun. I pose your question. Shall you uncover honey where maggots are? I hunt among stones.
Thank you, Paul.
So whereas T.S. Eliot found it all going to shit, Olson said, look what comes out of that shit. Right.
Yeah.
So one George Bowering line that we didn't say when T.S. Eliot came up was, Cuba si, Eliot no. George, that's George Bowering again. And in 4 words, 4 words, explaining a whole poetics. Fantastic. Well, people, thank you for indulging me. And I have recorded that. And what a joy to have you all. You all bring such interesting um, experiences and work and perspectives to this. It is such a joy. You know, when it's a Thursday, oh yeah, I got to teach the workshop today. I will facilitate the workshop. And I forget how much fun it is to be with you, to be in this it's a dopamine rush, I think, to be with you all. It feels so good, especially given the events that are happening in the world. Understand that you can, you can get away from that. Have a joke or something like that. That's why I try and keep things, that's why I try and make jokes. They don't always come out as well as people would, as I would like them, but I try them. I try and get people to laugh and try and get that hit of dopamine because we need it so bad right now. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
See you next week. Bye.
Be well, Nancy.